I'm 74 years old, and I'm going to tell you something that makes me feel a little ashamed to say out loud, not because it's dramatic, not because it's rare, but because it's simple. I stayed where I was unhappy because I was afraid to start over. And if you're young, you might think fear is just a feeling, something that passes, something you deal with later. But I'm here to tell you, fear doesn't just scare you. Fear steals decades. And the worst part is, it steals them quietly. You don't notice it happening. You just wake up one day and you're old. And you realize you've been surviving for years, calling it a life.
When I was younger, people thought I had a good life. I had a steady job, a title that sounded respectable, the kind of career you could say out loud at family gatherings without anyone looking worried. I bought a home, paid my bills on time, raised children who turned out decent, kept my name clean, never embarrassed the family. From the outside, it looked like I had done everything right. And maybe I did, in the way people mean it. But the truth is, I lived most of my life on autopilot. I didn't choose my days. I repeated them. I woke up, went to work, came back tired, ate, slept, and did it again. Week after week, year after year. And whenever something inside me whispered, "This isn't you," I would answer it with something practical. Be grateful. Others have less. This is life. You'll rest later. I didn't realize it back then, but I was already negotiating with my unhappiness. Not solving it, just managing it, like a quiet illness. And what scared me most wasn't that I was unhappy. It was the thought of changing. Starting over felt like jumping off a cliff, even when the ground I was standing on was already burning. I didn't have a big turning point at first. No movie moment, no dramatic scene. It happened the way real life happens. Slow, and then suddenly. I was 68 when my body gave me my first serious warning. It wasn't anything heroic. I was walking from my car to my office like I had done 1,000 times, and I felt my chest tighten. Not pain exactly, more like a heavy hand pressing down. I sat on the curb like an old man, because suddenly I was one. A stranger walked over and asked if I was all right. I remember nodding, pretending I was fine, even while my heart was telling the truth. At the hospital, they said it was a scare, a warning, not the end, but a message. And I should have listened. But I did what I always did. I adjusted. I ate better, took my medicine, reduced stress, and then I went back to the same life like the scare was just another task to complete. That's what I was good at, completing tasks, not living. A few years later, someone I loved died. Not a distant relative, not someone I expected. A man I had known for most of my life. We worked together when we were young. He was the kind of person who made you feel lighter just by being near you. He used to tell me, "One day I'm going to leave this job. I'm going to do what I actually want." He talked about writing, traveling, living somewhere quieter. He said those things like he really believed them. Then, one day, he didn't show up. And 2 days later, I heard he was gone. Just like that. A heart attack. In his sleep. No goodbye. No warning speech. No time to get around to it. I went to his funeral and stood there among the flowers and polite sadness, and I remember looking at his face and thinking, so, this is how it ends. Not with the things you planned, not with the things you postponed. Just finished. And on the drive home, I felt something open inside me. Not motivation, not inspiration. Fear. A different kind, because I realized something I couldn't ignore anymore. If I keep living like this, I will die like this. Still waiting, still promising myself someday, and I will become one of those people others talk about with kind words, even though I never truly lived. That night, I sat alone in the living room. Everyone was asleep, and I asked myself a question I had avoided my whole life. Not, am I successful? Not, did I do my duty? Not, do people respect me? A much harder question. Am I happy? And the honest answer was, no. Not in a dramatic way, not in a crying on the floor way, just no. A quiet no. A tired no. The kind of no that has been waiting under your skin for years. And what hit me next was worse. I didn't just feel unhappy, I felt trapped, because I knew exactly what I would have to do to change, and I was terrified. Starting over meant admitting I had chosen wrong. It meant disappointing people. It meant risking embarrassment. It meant being the older beginner in a room full of young confidence. It meant letting go of the familiar pain for an unknown future. And so I told myself the lie that has ruined more lives than any enemy ever could. I have time. I said it in different ways. Not now. After the kids are settled. After one more year. After I save more money. After things calm down. And every time I said after, another year disappeared. I don't think people understand what time really is. Young people think time is a river that keeps flowing. Old people know time is a cup, and the cup is not as full as you think. Let me tell you something about success. Success is a strange thing. When you're young, it feels like proof. Proof you're doing something right. Proof your sacrifices have meaning. You tell yourself, I'm building something. But then you build it, and the next day, it's normal. So you chase the next thing. More money, more security, more approval, more goals. And the goalposts keep moving because achievement never wants to be satisfied. It always whispers, just a little more. I watched men retire after working for 40 years, and within months they were walking around their house like ghosts, not because they were lazy, because they didn't know who they were without their job. They were successful, but hollow. I watched a woman I worked with delay her dream of starting a small bakery. She said she would do it after retirement. After retirement, her hands started shaking. Arthritis. She couldn't knead dough the way she used to. She smiled when she talked about it, but her eyes didn't. And I remember thinking, that could be me. It was me in a different form, because I also waited. And the truth is, waiting feels responsible, until you realize it was fear wearing a suit. Now I want to talk about regret. Not the kind people post about, real regret. The kind that sits with you at night and doesn't let you turn the lights off. I regret the times I said I'm busy when my mother called, and I could hear in her voice she just wanted to talk. I thought she would always be there. Then she wasn't. I regret how many meals I ate while staring at a clock, thinking about work, while my children were right in front of me growing up. I can still see my son trying to tell me something once. He was maybe 11. He was standing near the door of my study, holding a school notebook. He said, "Dad, can I show you something?" And I said, "Not now, I'm tired." He nodded and walked away. That moment lasted 5 seconds, but I can still see it clearly because I don't have many moments like that left. And I wonder how many times that happened that I don't even remember. That's the cruel thing. You don't remember the small moments you lost until those small moments are the only thing you want back. I regret the trips I didn't take, not because travel is important, but because life is. There were places I wanted to see, simple places, quiet places. I wanted to sit somewhere unfamiliar and feel my heart wake up again. But I told myself, later. Later never came. I regret the friendships I let fade. I had friends who genuinely loved me, and I treated them like they were permanent furniture in my life. I thought we would always have time. Then one moved away, another got sick, another died, and suddenly my phone went quiet. Not because I was unloved, but because I had slowly trained people to live without me. I regret how much I tolerated, how many days I stayed in places that made my spirit smaller. Not just jobs, relationships, rooms, conversations where I pretended to be someone easier. I thought endurance was strength. Sometimes endurance is just fear with good manners. And what hurts most is realizing how many versions of myself I never became because I was too scared to begin again. So, if you ask me what matters now, it isn't my job title. Nobody has asked about that in years. It isn't my bank balance. It isn't the awards or the respect. It isn't the furniture, the house, the things I spent so many years protecting. What matters is simple. It's who's sitting beside you. It's who you can call. It's the feeling of being fully present in your own life. Time, people, honesty. That's it. It sounds obvious, doesn't it? That's what people always say. But you don't believe it when you're young because you're still chasing proof. You think you're supposed to become something. But at this age, I understand something quietly tragic. Life wasn't asking me to become impressive. Life was asking me to be alive. So, let me ask you a question. Not a motivational question, not a cute question, a real one. If you died tomorrow, would your life feel finished? Not completed like a checklist, finished like a story that meant something. Would you feel peaceful,